Hey squeakers, welcome to the next episode of Talking Ad Nauseam. And I actually forgot a USB last episode. It was sneaky and hidden within Amber's room. So we're going to read it right now. It's about the odd berries. So basically, someone's sending this USB to Elena about a victim. There's been victims of this yellow berry that when people eat it, they kind of just go unconscious. Or maybe even worse, it's not actually clarified. What's interesting about these yellow berries is they're clustered and they never are digested within someone's body. Even if you chew them, masticate them, they don't get digested. So one of the victims woke up on their own, you know, because most of these people are stuck asleep once they ingest the berries. And she woke up on her own and shat the berries out. So that's, I guess, how she got through this, you know, you eat the berries, you never wake up. But she mentioned having a dream of being stuck in a large hedge maze for days. With burnt yellow daylights above. Now, to me, that sounds like the yellow daylights are the surgical lights of the room, I bet. And the hedge maze either is just a hedge maze, or maybe it's like an interpretation of the intestines, right? Where instead of like flesh and shit, it's like plants. But when they reviewed the position of the berries, it mirrored her description. So basically, when these people go into sleep and into these dreams, they basically move and become the berry within their own system. And the way she escaped the maze is by finding, basically, the exit. And she could even move up her intestines, which, you know, that shouldn't be possible. So maybe she could escape through the mouth and she would throw it up. So another girl who they actually did perform surgery on, they mentioned we were able to perform an extraction earlier today, a couple hours after we got her body primed for the DDST. But yeah, when her berries were extracted, she woke up kicking like crazy. She described being stuck in the same dream, but she was yoinked by a metal arm. So that's probably why her legs were kicking. She was probably trying to run. And the metal arm being whatever tool they used to extract the berries. Okay, squeakers, we are going into the berg. I just want to say right now, my mic has been kind of weird. I'm sure you've heard it in the last couple episodes, this weird static thingy. I apologize. I tried messing with it. Hopefully it's not too bad, but yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, let's go into the berg. This isn't really important or anything, but Yuffie's saying, "Are you ready for the best damn burger of your life?" It's kind of funny, that saying. Like, well, not funny, but like in Adna, they live forever, right? So saying that has a lot more gravity than kind of what we say on Earth of like, oh, best of my life. Obviously, it's an exaggeration and stuff, but I just think that's a cute detail. Like, all this cool, you know, all the cool things about Adna that makes it different from our world, like, always sticks out to me, and I don't know, I think it's why I like the game so much, but I'm rambling. Yuffie's awesome. I don't know if this is important, but, you know, Tsurine does give a couple lines to say why, like, to question why she's never been here. I don't know if the berg, like, secretly has some kind of, like, covert cloaking ability, and it was actually hidden from Tsurine or some shit. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it was a little, you know, Tsurine, that's the point of this video, is to dissect everything way too much, and Tsurine put some thought to it of why hasn't she ever been here. Maybe the meaning is something else. Maybe she used to go here, pre-amnesia, and yeah. So obviously this is Valley, right? The waitress just said I'll be there soon, and we know Valley, right? But Yuffie is going here in her mind or whatever. This, you know, her body language is like, oh, exclamation mark, like, oh, does she? Obviously, she probably recognizes Valley from maybe coming to the Berg, but does Yuffie know Valley? Maybe from her training as... Well, I don't really know how the training works that Yuffie went under, but maybe that's more of it, like more of a hint to the whole crisis nurse thing before it's revealed. Or, of course, Yuffie's just excited. That's probably what it is. And she wants the one in the corner. Now, Sid mentioned this before, and I believe Liza responded in a way that implied that it was true. Basically saying that Sid is very observant, because Sid said that it seems like Yuffie and Rivian used to come to the Berg. Yuffie is very sentimental about the place. She wants to sit in a oh my god. She wants to sit in a specific spot. I can't say that. And she sits on a side, and she like, you know, the seats kind of squished down, and it's all, you know, I think it's baked in her memories. Like, she has a lot of good memories with Rivian, but she never brings it up that they're with Rivian, you know? Like, she's like avoiding this huge part of her life, you know? Like, oh, the best burger in your life. Oh, let's go to the Berg. Oh, this place is the best. Let's sit in the seat. Share this, like, memory with Tsurine that, like, was Rivian's and Yuffie's memory, but she's kind of erasing Rivian out of it. Same with the Frigid Complex, Fecundali border. And yeah. Also, one thing I learned recently is that Rivian lives, or was born in Frigid Complex, which makes sense with the whole why she lives there and that kind of stuff. So yeah, another thing, this is going on more about what Sid said, is Yuffie wants this booth and sits on that side. And the side that Tsurine sits on is the one that's like dead. It's like deflated because, well, obviously Rivian is fucking massive and girl's buff, so she probably weighs a shit ton. And so probably they came here so much and so often that this seat is like deflated. It's the sheer raw power of Rivian's ass. What a wonderful thing. And here we go again, where it's hard for our arms to reach the table because Rivian is tall. She's larger than us. It's like the seat has been acclimatized, I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, to Rivian. It's been like modified based on her coming here. So a while ago, I actually looked at the menu of the Berg, and I took all the information here and compiled it into a document that basically tells us what food we know exists within ad nauseam, because we know that it's not, you know, one-to-one with Earth. So I'm gonna read a little bit of it right now. We know about 2 berries. There seem to be a berry-like fruit. There's the ready candy that uses as flavor. Yuffie loves it. Yuffie also smells like 2 berries. And they cause your urine to be red. And in the Discord, Liza has said that they specifically refer to berries and, you know, general berries, but also cranberries. And that cranberries are often given to people in hospitals because they help against infections. We have potash, which sounds like a potato. Razzleberries, maybe similar to a raspberry. Chime pepper mix. You know, not really sure, but probably a spicy mix from peppers. The jus sauce, which is, am I saying that right? Jus, it's jus sauce. Now the ZH sound is likely old font, right? That's something that we've also learned, like J is pronounced that like that. So we have J and jus, so maybe the jus sauce is from Maknihu, who knows, or it's old font in some way. And yeah, it's some kind of dipping sauce. We have the tomatolo that's served on a pizza burger, so it's probably a tomato. The sweet and spicy ilichi chogochang sauce. So there is a, I'm gonna butcher some of these real world words here. There is a Korean sauce called chogochujang, I think is how you pronounce it. So that seems like it's relating to that. Same with the sweet and spicy. And ilichi, I think, is a unique word from Adna. I don't really know. But yeah, some kind of like sweet and spicy Asian-inspired sauce. Probably like soy sauce flavored and stuff. We have the barbecue sauce. Probably tastes like barbecue sauce. The birched beer. Probably referencing birch beer. and it's non-alcoholic. Iridyllic cola, unsure what that is referencing. And spice cola, which to me might be just normal, like Coca-Cola, like that soda flavor that's like impossible to pin what it tastes like. I think people have like, yeah, spice cola might be that. And then here's some foods that we know are from the real world. We have beef, chicken, pork, dough/bread, chocolate, onions, brioche buns, pizza, garlic, pepperoni, salami, basil, mushrooms, midnight olives, beer, wine, and cola. So yeah, that is the Berg menu. Now another thing that I don't know that I want to pay attention to is what does Yuffie get? I know she gets the usual, and I'm pretty sure that is the cure. So the cure is brioche bun, ham bacon, bacon ham, onion strips, darkened deep, jus sauce dunk cup. Awesome. I think that's what she gets. Let's find out. We're gonna go for, what do I want from the Berg? I think I want the signature here. Oh yeah, and then also we have corp farmed and single selection. Unsure what that really means, but my assumption is obviously corp farm sounds like corporate farmed or corporation farmed. That makes me think of a large scale kind of farm where they breed the animals, slaughter the animals, feed them and shit. I don't know if it's as dystopian as our world where they're like fucking locked in cages and shit. I'd hope not. Because maybe the Adna sanatorians have a bit more value for pain in life because they're immortal, but who knows. And we have single selection, which is I assume that like with the bird seed where you lure out animals from the black wall, probably like picking animals from the black wall and eating them from there instead of, the farming them. We have a little dialogue there that Yuffie implying Tsurine is a picky eater. Not sure how much of a joke that is, but that is interesting to think about. Also, Tsurine likes birchid beer. Probably, I guess it's her favorite out of this selection. I would go with birchid beer too, and let's go with the Berg signature. So we have this line that comes up in a couple one of these options where Yuffie says, people's greatest mistakes are made when they get too comfortable. This is another line that sticks out to me, kind of like the Zeal one, where it's Yuffie suddenly saying some really wise shit. And I'm not saying suddenly as it's out of character, but like damn Yuffie, I agree with you. You're right. People's greatest mistakes are made when they get too comfortable. I wonder if that relates to something with her history. Or maybe that's some kind of foreshadowing. But yeah, banger line by Yuffie as always. Alrighty, so Valet says that she's getting off work early today, and I wonder why that is, what she's doing. Obviously maybe she has to go home and take care of Kimmy, but maybe that would be like every day, right? Like today, her schedule is different. She's going off work early. So, yeah, I'm curious. That might be something important, because there's a lot of things that the characters say that they're doing. Like with D1 specifically, like with Jicca, today she's like, oh, I have to go do this thing. And then we learn the next day that she went to the mall, she fell down all those escalators and stuff like that. So once we get a larger timeline of events, we should keep in mind Valley, for some reason, on the day of D0, went home early. So we have Valley as the psyspec taking care of Mariel's sweets because the tips of that ward defected. Pakara, I don't know how you say it. And Tsurine's asking if that was Valley's boss. Valley says yes, which is interesting because the only time I've heard boss mentioned in Sterlie is Jicca or Wrath, right? Everyone's boss is either Jicca or Wrath. You can, I guess, have like a tips overseer, it seems. But yeah, that's interesting. This could just also be casual speak, like, obviously not the technical boss, but like the person above you. But then Tsurine says that MS is entirely the valley without a boss or any other tips. So that's really interesting. There's that boss again, that phrase. And Valley's all alone in the ward, but she does have Jay. Of course, we know Jay. She is amazing, and she's a crisis nurse, much like Yuffie here. And yeah, apparently MS has been super easy. So Valley has had more free time. That's probably why she's working at the Berg. Yes, exactly. Huh, so that's interesting. Tsurine says, why work in your free time? Is it to get away from Jay? And Valley goes, ... And then she says, yup. And, you know, obviously Valley says yup like a million times in this conversation. But this time she hesitates. I have a feeling there's another reason why she's working in her free time that she's not telling us. Because why would she want to get away from Jay? Like, she likes Jay, right? And Jay likes Valley. Obviously, maybe there's some kind of, like, nervousness. Like, with D1, there's that stuff we learned about Valley and Jay where Valley is kind of afraid to get closer. But I feel like that wouldn't turn out to become Valley getting a whole second job just to avoid Jay, you know? Or maybe it is, but, you know, maybe there's something suspicious there. I don't know, like, or it's not suspicious, or she just wants to get more money to take care of Kimmy and stuff. And, okay, yeah, here's another ... So back to back, there's hesitation. There's some awkwardness in the air. And she moves the conversation on. That's interesting. Okay, sorry, Yuffie likes the Heartburster. My bad. And as I suspected, the Heartburster does have 2 berries on it, which is a very nice detail. That's probably why Yuffie likes it. You know, okay, so Valley again said ... for Yuffie ordering the usual or the Heartburster. I wonder if that relates to Yuffie and Rivian coming here all the time, and maybe Valley knows that, or Valley, like, or that's what Rivian used to always get, or something. But Tsurine is like, oh, you just got a second job. It sounds like Valley just started working here, but again, Tsurine might not know that because Tsurine never went to the Berg. There's a chance Valley's been working here for a while, or maybe off and on she works here. Maybe she knows. I don't know. That's an interesting detail. Like, every time there's a ... my alarm bells go off that there's something going on. Which, you know, means that I'm probably more wrong than I am right. But, yeah. I don't think this means anything, but I have to say it anyway. Valley asks to turn off the lights. If it's okay, Yuffie says, actually, we can do it ourselves. Valley just ignores her and does it anyway. Obviously, that's cute and funny, but I don't know, maybe there's some spooky light stuff going on. Who knows? So we cut into a conversation where it seems like Yuffie was asking if Tsurine could ever become a tips. And Yuffie says, I bet you can, even with that pesky exemption. So Sterlie has an in-house evaluation doctor, which is Holocene. So that sounds like to me someone who evaluates the new hires to make sure, you know, to screen them for any kind of issues, right? Like conditions, mental, physical, and all of that. The word in-house, so it's not someone outside of Sterlie. It's not like we go to a psychiatrist and then you can work at Sterlie. For some reason, the in-house one is used, I guess maybe to keep stuff private and secret. But yeah, Tsurine's too shaky to handle a pill gun. It's kinda way worse than just being too shaky. Girl is traumatized, it seems. So yeah, Tsurine, all she does is investigate liabilities and diagnose from a distance. She does the auditing, none of the violence or the cleanup or the dirty work. And yeah, Tsurine's paperwork goes to Jicca, and we know this, we've heard that in the USBs and stuff, and the saboteur has somehow been messing with Tsurine's copies. Now, does that mean Jicca is just fucking with the copies and then saying the saboteur is? I'm not sure why she would do that, but I guess that's a possibility. I don't really believe in that. Or maybe instead of the saboteur targeting Tsurine, they're targeting Jicca. That's possible, but it seems like the saboteur found its way into Tsurine's room. But that's just what Jicca claims. Like, oh, they went to your room, you know, because the documents went right to me, and the documents would never get fucked up in Jicca's hands, but what if they were? What if, you know what I mean? Maybe that's a red herring, not like from Jicca, but from the story that we think the saboteur is going into Tsurine's room, but actually the saboteur is going into Jicca's room. It's messing up with the audits right before they hit Jicca, you know? Like Jicca holds on to them after being given to them, and on her way home, maybe she leaves them like before she actually reads them, or something like that. It's a little implausible, unlikely, I should say, but interesting. So we have Yuffie number 29 here, and this is her little badge, Sterlie Tower Personnel. PCCBPPC Crisis Nurse. What are these letters meaning? I feel like a long time ago we figured them out. I think it's pill gun certified, cleanup, binning, and I don't know what the other one means. Maybe it's something else to do with pill gun certified. Or pill press certified or something like that. But yeah, that's Yuffie's a CN. Wonderful. Interesting that Yuffie calls Ferrith when I imagine she would say, call me Reth. Either Yuffie is defiant in that, or is only saying this because of, you know, not being around Ferrith, or Ferrith doesn't mind Yuffie calling her Ferrith for whatever reason. That's an interesting detail. And yeah, we know Ferrith watches over Daughterfly Gardens, and Yuffie was working under there, which is interesting. Obviously, Yuffie moved to Daughterfly, but that's also where her parents were, and Yuffie was also born in Daughterfly, so she's got a lot of history there, it kind of seems. I wonder if her becoming a crisis nurse had ulterior motives, like she wanted to also investigate something in Daughterfly, right, connected to her past. And yeah, Yuffie confirms that she did move to Daughterfly to do this job, to train under Ferrith. So Yuffie's got her own pill gun, and it seems like she has it on her, by the way, which is ridiculous. That's crazy. Like, imagine they were like laying together, and Tsurine's like, "What is that poking me?" Yuffie's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's just my fucking pill gun." It's like, what? If only it was something else poking. Damn. But yeah. Yuffie has her own pill gun. She has it on her. That's crazy. And Tsurine seems pretty kind of shaken up a bit at first because she's obviously like, why are you becoming, this is crazy, why are you becoming a crisis nurse? That's a whole lot of shit to do. But Yuffie did this just for Tsurine, which is honestly ridiculous to think about. That's a lot of effort, studying, working, busting your ass off, just for Tsurine, who you've only met for like 2 years, you know, so that tells how much Yuffie cares about Tsurine and how close they are. Which again, you know, I know I keep saying it. I don't want to get like stuck on an assumption, right? Because I'll dig myself in a hole. But like I said, it seems like Yuffie has no one else. So yeah, that does make it kind of really cute. She's a good dog. How much she's like, you know, working to help Tsurine. Because she can do everything Tsurine can't in her job, so they're the perfect match, right? But here's the thing is, Yuffie obviously wants to be Tsurine's partner in, you know, her CN partner, and Ferrith is her boss, but Ferrith is the one who kind of denies Yuffie and Tsurine being a pair, right? I believe if you look in the D1 thing, that's why Tsurine calls Ferrith a bitch or whatever. So that's interesting because Yuffie, I feel like, must have told Ferrith at some point during training, right? Like, if it was even possible for them to be paired together, stuff like that. And Yuffie says she's got top scores, which we know is true, that her, you know, her stat spread is similar to Jicca, which is crazy. Because Jicca has a 20 in elimination. So when talking about, you know, the dirty work of the job, Tsurine's like, oh, my stomach's not the strongest in sanatoria. You know, I wouldn't be able to see that kind of stuff, implying that she's going to, like, vomit and get sick because of it. And Yuffie's like, oh, well, maybe not because of that new stuffing you have. That just leaves the queasiness, which will go away in time. So it seems like Yuffie understands a bit of Tsurine's condition, that when Tsurine is around this kind of traumatic, gory shit, she vomits and gets really queasy, right? So, yeah, that's some information. And we do see Tsurine vomit when she gets really stressed out in the Psycho Break quote unquote, I don't know what to call that scene in D1, because it's not a psycho break, but Piamat's like, you almost lucidated, so maybe it's like the ramping up to a psycho break, and then Piamat like took us out of it with her weird drug. So when we say that, so Yuffie's like, oh, all you have to say is that I'm super cool and like you did such a good job, you're amazing. When we say that verbatim to Yuffie, she's like, thank you, that's it, that's why I did this, that's what I wanted to hear. It's fucking praise. This girl's a dog. Like, she did all this shit for Tsurine, and like her just being like praised about it is like literally all she needs. Whether, you know, maybe she's exaggerating and it's a lot deeper than that, but yeah. But then when we say, you know, I'm genuinely really proud of you, and we don't say that whole, you know, thing, she's like, that is actually the part I really wanted to hear from you. So yeah, it seems like she did all of this, you know, for Tsurine with like really nothing in return except, you know, and hearing Tsurine actually be proud of her is like more than enough payment for all the fucking time Yuffie must have spent training and doing this shit. It's ridiculous. So Yuffie hopes to go into work with Tsurine. Obviously she does not go into work because of Rivian. So does she know she's not going in and saying that's the hope because she you know, she's not lying. She hopes she can come in. You know, so does she know that she's not going to, or does she only find out tomorrow? I'm not sure. Yuffie left her work attire back home, but she's wearing a crisis nurse jacket. It's not hers, so it's most likely Rivian's, right? Because Rivian is not a crisis nurse, and her stats feel very crisis nurse, right? But I mean, her stats also would make her a psyspec, so I'm not sure. But Rivian is a tips, so she must have been something before becoming a tips, right? So this jacket either belongs to another Sterlie member Yuffie knows about, or it's Rivian's. And I think it's Rivian's, and I think it's another weird detail that she obviously doesn't seem to like Rivian, but is wearing her jacket. I don't understand. Okay, and here is the portion of the video where I go through every option in Yuffie's pop quiz, so strap in. What is psychosia? It's a mental state. One that everyone has waiting dormantly. Okay, so we're gonna dissect this. I'm sure everyone watching this at this point in the video knows all this stuff, but hey, maybe there's some intricacies we can learn from this. So yeah, everyone has psychosia. Dormant in your mind, right? It's a mental state, I guess. Maybe a mental state you can go into, or a mental state you're capable of. I've talked about this theory idea I have where Tsurine psychosia is amnesia. That's her losing memory. That's why when she psycho breaks or whatever happens in D1s, she really starts forgetting things a lot. So it seems like I assume everyone has their own mental state that is dormant until stress accumulates or something, and then they go into it, which, I mean, that kind of mimics real life. Like, everyone has their answer or response to stress, you know? Some people get really anxious. That's me. I have this anxious psychosia or mental state that I go into when I'm very stressed out. But I think the dormant part, if I'm using like real life, is, you know, if you have an anxious mental state when like everything's really going hard and you're fucking breaking down, super anxious anxiety attack, right? You also have anxiety that's kind of like ever present within you, right? Like even day to day, even on good days, you still have, you know, little anxious thoughts, right? So that's what I feel. And I mean, that is based on Earth, so that could not be right. But that is my interpretation of psychosia as of now, is that dormantly everyone has these mental states, these kind of like colors of stress responses, right? Whether it be memory loss or maybe anxiety. And they have little, you know, little quirks from it, right? Like having anxious thoughts, having negative thoughts, you know, forgetting short-term things. But when things go into, you know, I'm having a breakdown, that's when it spikes, right? So the anxiety becomes full-blown, you know, anxiety attack, you know, freaking out, quivering, shaking, crying, whatever, the like negative thoughts can go into maybe negative actions and like self-harm or like, you know, really debilitating negative thoughts. And the memory loss that's short term turns into long term memory loss, forgetting things constantly and maybe things in your mind melding and mixing together, right? With the hallucinations. Well, because when you psycho break too, and that, which is even more extreme than like a breakdown, is like you will hallucinate stuff, right? You'll elucidate and it'll become real. So yeah, it's a whole lot of shit. But that's my interpretation of psychosia. And that's why we take stabilizers, is to kind of hold back those thoughts. So it's basically like antidepressants, right? Like if someone's response to stress is depression in the real world, we give them antidepressants, right? But in ad nauseam, everyone stabilizers work for everything, whether it's depression, anxiety, or memory loss, right? They keep us sane. Is a good way to put it. So yeah, psychosia changes person to person, usually shaped by the individual's stressful life experiences, which in real life we know people, you know, trauma is usually from the childhood, stressful experiences, or, you know, any stressful experience in life. Like you can get into a traumatic situation right now and then you'll have, you know, like effects from it forever. You'll have scars, I guess. You'll have like, you know, things you have to watch out for. So psyspecs need to audit people to kind of figure out their trauma, kind of like a impromptu therapist talk time. Like, hey, what is up with you? Why? Like, what makes you this or that? Yeah, here we go. One person might go ballistic while another just mentally shuts down. So yeah, like I was saying, it seems like everyone has their own shade of stress. So, someone living under stress and neglecting your stabilizers rapidly fall into psychosia. This is a liability. Basically, the stabilizers are not there to, I guess, prevent this mental state, this negative mental state of, you know, going ballistic or mentally shutting down. So they more and more start to do these things. And it makes them a danger to themselves and others, but nothing that needs serious attention beyond pill pushing. So yeah, basically makes someone kind of, you know, mentally just unwell for a period of time. If you don't take your stabilizers, you know, your anxiety will be ever present. You'll have very anxious days, but it's not like, you know, you're elucidating and shit. You're not like the danger is, you know, the negative effects that you're receiving and, you know, what being so anxious will do to your life and the people around you. But all you need to really do is just pill push, just take the stabilizers and you'll be fine. But if you don't do that, then yeah, there's a psycho break that can happen, which sounds like if while you're in this unstabilized state, if you then enter a breakdown, like something bad happens when you're already feeling horrible, then shit really hits the fan. And you elucidate, and most people just get scotched from it. Like, the way they talk about it is most people do not survive this. You scotch yourself. And if you don't, you become a very serious issue, which is a liability. Liability is unpredictable abilities due to elucidation, which they have loose control over. So yeah, loose control, as opposed to abnormal liabilities, which seem to have more control. But these liabilities, I like to think of it as like, you know, they're completely freaking out. They're in this, you know, extreme mental state of you know, let's say anxiety, and like things that they are thinking and feeling and their emotions and stress and these anxious thoughts kind of come out of them or come out of the environment as elucidations, right? So they have very loose control over it. Like maybe if you say certain words to them, then the elucidations can kind of change form and they kind of adapt to what the person's feeling. That's like a loose control. It's not really like, oh, I want to summon fireball. Like that's not gonna work. But maybe if they're really angry, there will be fire everywhere. But if they feel more calm, it'll like, I don't know, everything will freeze. I don't know. That's obviously probably not how it works, but that's just the only way I can try and describe it, because this is a very bizarre concept, but I love it. And yeah, if you double downs to say that even the most stable liabilities can lose control. They're all threat to civilians. Yeah, very dangerous stuff. So when someone falls into psychosis, their view of the world and themselves is distorted by it, just like any other mental condition. This, to me, I think I understand what this is trying to say. Like if you are depressed, the entire world feels depressing, right? Like, in the real world on Earth, like, obviously the world isn't changing, but things feel more like blue, they feel more gray, they feel more washed out and depressing. Things aren't as fun anymore, you're depressed, right? But in ad nauseam, all those things you're experiencing actually reflect in the world. The view of the world is distorted, I believe is that's what it means. And lucidation is like a tangible version of this, where like things would actually turn blue in real world, you know? So yeah, as they continue down psychosis, the skewed view of the world around them and their bodies will begin to overlap with the real things. So it's like their mental state and the state of the world start to overlap. And this, Yuffie mentions their bodies, which is important, because like I think it's mentioned maybe here or later, but most people get scotched by elucidation and psycho breaks because their organs like melt or something. Like they kind of like just fail. The organs fail because they start not to add up with their view of the world and how the world is, so they kind of mush together, and you don't want any kind of mushing and melting of your internal organs. That is a bad idea. Their thoughts become reality, they elucidate. Yeah, that's how you explain it, that's perfect. They also can occur without a psycho break, which is interesting. Kind of forgot about that. Oh, unless we're talking about saltations. An individual has to be neglecting meds and under stress for years for that to happen. Interesting. No, that's not about saltations. That's something else. So people can elucidate if they don't take meds for years and they neglect it. They can kind of elucidate without a psycho break. That's interesting. That's something to keep in mind, I guess. So the permanent warps of the world from elucidation are called saltations, and this can happen to the land or the body. So what Yuffie is saying, intense saltations cause the body to contort on itself, which is the #1 cause of scotching when someone has a psycho break. Yeah, this is what I was mentioning. You don't want your body to fucking contort. You don't want your internal organs to get all, you know, gummy-wummy and shit. And the most dangerous liabilities can actually control the saltations to their advantage, right? So, you know, you have the virgin liability who's fucking like, their whole body is contorting and they just die like as a spaghetti mess. But then you have the fucking girl boss liability that can turn their arm into like an axe, right? Because they're like, oh, I have control over my hallucination, while the other one doesn't and just dies and scotches. Which is sadly what happens to everyone. We're all virgin liabilities. Some of them are really cool with anime powers. And of course there's harmless saltations that happen in normal people because of just general stress. And they don't cause, then people don't have them removed unless they cause health issues. And yeah, Yuffie has dog ears. Those are her saltations. And a lot of characters have little saltations on them. And Yuffie, you know, this is obviously an interesting line saying, I thought I had these since birth. And Tsurine's like, you probably got them so early on you never knew. Children get minor ones if they're, well, neglected. Yeah. But it's uncommon to have a couple from life. ... I had no idea. Which, obviously, you know I'm gonna say I'm sus of Yuffie. But it seems like Yuffie was the one who said neglected. So that's almost like she's answering a little bit about her childhood directly from Yuffie's mouth. She was neglected as a child, and that may have caused the dog ears. Now, I'm very curious if the saltations are from your skewed mental state of the world. Does that mean Yuffie viewed herself as a dog? Like, I'm not saying, I'm not saying like she's a furry or anything. She definitely is. But like, what I'm saying is like, her being neglected, does she view herself as something lesser than human? Like, dogs are pets, right? And if you think about dogs in a negative sense, they're locked away in cages, you know, they're seen as lesser, and they get put down, and no one cares about dogs, they're just locked away and shit. Like, is that what happened to Yuffie? Is that why her saltations, you know, the manifestation of her mental state as a child was that she was a dog, like a pet, something lesser than human, like unequal, I guess. I don't know, but her eyes are also freaking like little fangs that a dog would have, like canine teeth, right? Is that what is called? But and then we have Rivian, who's also a dog, and lived under the same mother, I believe. Yeah, was adopted by the same abusive mom. And she looks more like a wolf. And her teeth, or her eyes are also like a tooth or something, or a fang. And yeah. And Rivian, though, she is more of a wolf, which a wolf is more untamed, and Rivian has a tail. And I don't think Yuffie has a tail. And if it is, it's very small, and it's not mentioned ever. But, does that mean Rivian went through more? Or Rivian kind of psycho-broke more? Like, cracked a bit more from whatever happened? It seems like maybe, if we're trying to think of a more story way to explain it, maybe Yuffie kind of went the passive route of, I'm a dog, I'm lesser, was her mindset as a child. And Rivian was like, I am untamed and unwanted, and maybe she lashed out, right? And we know she joined like a gang. We know she kidnapped Yuffie. She seemed to be pretty like aggressive and assertive and abrasive, right? As a teen or a child, however old she was. So yeah, maybe that's a bit of like the little dichotomy of the sisters is, one was domesticated, one was feral, right? And yeah, that was a lot of speculation and maybe even fanfic, so take of that what you will, but that is interesting. I'm only coming to this conclusion now because of like rereading this dialogue and the way they explain the mental state skewing, like your like view of the world, makes me want to put into question almost all the saltations the characters have now. Like Piamat has bunny ears. And like, I don't know, what are bunny? It's like symbolism. Like, even if none of this existed, usually in media, when characters have stuff on them, like ears and stuff, like animal ears, there's a little bit of a cheeky joke. There's symbolism, like, oh, because she's a puppy dog. She's very happy and positive. She's a dog girl. She's a puppy girl. Or she's always hopeful, like a dog. She's innocent, like a dog, right? It's symbolism. But Adna has symbolism, but it's actually baked into the world because it's all from the character's emotions. This is one of my favorite parts of the game, is the whole psychosia thing. Like, it's legitimately symbolism baked into reality. So I want to kind of look at all the characters now with this maybe more symbolic approach and see how their saltations affect them. Like, yeah, like I said, Piamat has bunny ears. Does she see herself as, passive and innocent? That's kind of like how bunnies are portrayed. And then what else? Like, what other characters do we have? And then you have characters like Amber, who have like a whole fuck ton of like feathers that are not cleanly attached to her head. And it's pointed out that it's like, look at all those saltations. Like, that is a bit more unhinged, right? It's really interesting to look at. Yeah, Sterlie Tower, the giant building in the center of the Grand Atrium Ward. I always thought that was interesting. That in the center of the sanatoria and the clinic, and in the center of that ward, there is a tower. Which is interesting, at the center of the world. Yeah, that feels important. It's also holy, right? It's a holy place, allegedly, if religion is right. So yeah, that's very peculiar. Also, I believe Yuffie and Leida both refer to Providence as a council, but other places in the story, I think maybe Jicca and Tsurine call Providence multiple things. Like, we don't know what Providence is. It could be a god, a girl, a council, or something else. But then Yuffie and Leida call it a council, I believe, or something like that. I'm not sure about the Leida one, but the Yuffie one's right here. So I wonder if most people agree that Providence is a council. Like, that is the general public's opinion, which honestly does make sense, because it would be ridiculous if it was one girl, Like if you were living in the world, obviously, as you know, knowing that Adna's fiction, it might just be a really cool girl, right? Like, I feel like Jicca could probably be Providence. She's crazy. But you know, in a god, I don't think normal everyday people are gonna be like, oh yeah, it's just a god. Like there's a living god up there. Um, Although I think the whole kind of god thing makes sense to me because what Providence does is crazy. It takes care of like an entire world. Um, but a council is the one that actually makes realistic sense if you were living in the world. So I think that might be most sanatorians think that Providence is a council. So yeah, the way Yuffie describes Providence is it's the council in charge of running the economy and other humanitarian needs. I have to stop speaking so fast. Holy shit. And yeah, it's Providence operates from the top of Sterlie. Which is kind of crazy that that line is right here because we kind of had to assume that because of what Jicca says about at the top of Sterlie, the cancer of architecture. But then Yuffie just straight up tells us that at least most people believe that the top of Sterlie is the Council of Providence. And they speak through a single selected retainer, which is Jicca. Retainer trickles down needs and jobs to psyspec forces. A retainer is important for properly wording and interpreting Providence's orders. Now that's interesting that there needs to be interpretation. And Tsurine's asking who the current retainer is. It's Jicca, Tsurine's boss. Who's on the Council of Providence? Nope. They're kept secret for safety reasons. We don't even know if it's a council, but Providence has been around since the old world. That would be crazy if it's the same people all these years later. Oh my god. So crisis nurses usually patrol a ward and sell stabilizers to people. Probably people who they think need it. And they bring Scotch people to hospitals. It kind of sounds like, to me, a little bit of like the neighborhood policeman kind of like archetype of like the authority figure who kind of just goes around and people are like, oh, look, it's the crisis nurse. I'm like, oh, how are you? Doing good. Everyone doing okay. Here's some stabilizers. And if someone is scotched, you know, the crisis nurses will rush over and bring them to the hospital. And they also, you know, do the dirty part of the work and they can apply to partner with a psyspec. Here we go. Humans don't die like animals do. Banger line. But our bodies can still be broken down to a point where we're unable to do much. So yeah, the difference between death and scotching is that if you're scotched, you can be put back together, but animals will never be able to be put together. It's a weird sentence. They can get ripped apart and you put their legs back together. They're not gonna move anymore. They won't be kicking like Yuffie will. If you fucking obliterate Yuffie and put her back together, she'll be all bright smiles and good. So, that's the difference between death and scotching. Wait a second. She said that's the difference between death and scotching. The difference between us and animals. And then she says ... and I'm pretty sure her face changed. That's interesting of the thing I just said about her and the whole animal thing. And then the topic changes to not everyone can afford reconstruction, so maybe I'm just being a little delusional, but that's okay. That's okay. As Adna fans, we have to be a bit delusional. So here we have another case of Yuffie being an absolute girl boss and saying that if something bad were to happen to her during, you know, being a crisis nurse, that she would just fucking get reconstructed because she'll get a lot of money. That is just insanity. That's like working a really dangerous job and just saying, oh, you know, if my leg gets blown off, I'll just get a prosthetic. Like, that is really ballsy, but I respect that. And hey, she's not dumb, she's just zealous, okay? Don't confuse the two. And again, I know I keep mentioning this, but I gotta shout out a good girl when I see one. Yuffie's doing all of this for Sue. She's risking everything. She doesn't even care if she gets fucking scotched. She is willing to risk it, which I think is awesome. She's a very good girl. So everyone worship your Yuffie shrine and your Yuffie idol and say, Yuffie, you're a good girl. Thank you. Now, interesting here, Yuffie asking if we'll have her back. I wonder why she's asking this. Like, my mind automatically goes to Yuffie, of course, would think we have her back. But is this Yuffie genuinely being a bit unsure? Or does she just want to hear what she's thinking, you know? Like, does she... Or maybe this question of, you know, Tsurine, will you have my back, is less about, like Yuffie wants to know how Tsurine feels about this. Does Tsurine feel like she could have Yuffie's back, right? Yeah, if push comes to shove, and now we have an option here of saying, of course I will, or I'm worried I might not. So it seems like Yuffie's genuinely concerned and wants to just know a little bit about what Tsurine's thinking and her emotions right now. Not that she doesn't trust Tsurine, you know? So when you click the top option, it's very quick and, you know, it's like, yeah, of course I will. And they're all like, yep. But this bottom one's a lot more honest. Like, look, Tsurine's like, and then she cuts herself off. She thinks for a moment. And then she goes to like a worried expression and she's like, I'm worried. That's like her being dead ass and genuine. Like, I'm worried. And Yuffie's like, hey, it's okay. When the time comes, you'll get your shit together. And that's just a hunch. That's just intuition by Yuffie. But hey, we trust Yuffie's intuition. Dogs got good noses, you know? And she leans over the table, gives us a nice little hug. And yeah, that's our little Yuffie comfort for the day. This is the option I picked on my first run, and I'm going to pick it again here because I think it's really cute and I like it. It's also very honest. I mean, I'm worried about Tsurine not being able to get Yuffie's back. I think it's very realistic. So Yuffie wants to get called when Tsurine comes home, probably just to make sure she's safe. But if you want to delve and dig into that, go for it. This is probably nothing. Also, get ready for the Rinaline jump scare. But it says Tsurine leaves the burg. It doesn't say Yuffie leaves the burg. Is Yuffie staying in the burg? I wonder if she's... Why did the Rinaline kind of scare me? Is Yuffie staying in the burg to kind of reminisce a little bit with Rivian? Because why didn't they leave together? Why is Yuffie like, oh, call me? They didn't leave. We didn't walk Yuffie to the auto rail or whatever. We just left. That's very odd. Yuffie's the one who prompted it too. She said, are you ready to turn in? It's getting late. So I do honestly think that's intentionally trying to tell us that Yuffie is lingering in the burg to try and reminisce about Rivian. Yuffie has always, or has often been calling on her phone this entire disc, like today of D0. Not sure who she's calling and stuff, but very interesting stuff. Now, of course, over there we have our lovely Rinaline, or who only I can assume is Rinaline. Hopefully in post I remember to take a screenshot of Rinaline, do some freaking amazing detective sleuthing work, and we can take a look at her sprite. But when I look at her, I see the main thing that jumps out at me is one, she seems to be facing us straight on, which I guess I was gonna say not many characters do, but no, Jicca faces straight on and Yuffie also faces straight on. But the main thing is the little thing on her head, which looks, and obviously I'm using knowledge from the D1 Rinaline that we get to see as well, but, you know, when you look at both of those, it looks like the hoop, or not the hoop, but the Tsurine's ponytail that's on the side of her head, although hers is on the right. So, and yeah, it looks like she has a big dress and some normal-ass shoes. And yeah, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll have to throw it into a photo editing, hopefully if I remember to do that. Alright, so there's not much here, but we can see that it looks like in the top right of her hair we have a little bow. I can't tell if it turns into a ponytail like Tsurine's hair does, but that definitely looks like some kind of flower or bow. And then the whole body kind of goes out and flows, which makes me think of like some kind of dress, almost like a maid dress. And that's about everything I can tell from this. So yeah. You know, I'm also really interested of what the fuck is the ambience that's playing right now. It's very quiet, but it never plays anywhere else in the game. Um, it's very human. It kind of sounds like breathing or ghostliness kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. It's got like a bit crunch effect on it. Um, which makes sense with the static that we see here. Now, this static on the screen, I believe we see again in the D1 Dark Tower Dream and maybe some other areas. Probably the Psycho Break. But yeah, it just seems to be like a stressful effect. Now, we're going to click on Rena. Of course, there's not even a hover when we click on her. There's no beep. There's no hand icon. There's no talk icon. It's like she's not even there. It's like she's a ghost. Now, this is really interesting because from everything we've seen, Rinaline only appears as in a mirror, where she writes on a mirror. This is actually the only physical appearance, and I say physical weakly because it seems like she's like a ghost. The only appearance of Rinaline. Now maybe this isn't even Rinaline. Maybe this is something else. Maybe it's a shadow tsurine, you know? I don't know. But I believe you only get this if you get the metal bitch. So I think it's Rinaline. But the fact that she can kind of appear here is crazy. Um, I don't know why. It's if you wait here long enough, she appears. So maybe Rinaline is like watching us and she kind of like phases in and we can see her in this one instance. The stars just align. And Serene kind of freaks out. She's like, is someone there? And yeah, no response. Just get in the elevator. She's freaked the fuck out. And I would be too. I remember the first time I found this, I was fucking spooked. And of course, Benny returns with this text that I have not seen in a very long time. So I'm excited to read it. Hey Sue, it's bouncy, bouncy blue bunny Benny. So, how does she know that it's Serene? We'll get into that. Benny here. Mwah mwah. Have you missed me? I got a new phone, so you probably won't recognize the number. Sorry to text you out of the blue and all, but I wanted to let you know I'm gonna be roaming around for a new job. So if you want to visit me again, just text me here instead of surprising me like we chatted about, and I'll bounce on home. I hope the new job is treating you well and you're getting more comfortable with your life. Let me know if you ever need anything, okay? So I assume because we interacted with the whole Benny thing, for some reason that gave us or gave Benny our phone number. Don't know if that's a Providence thing or what. But apparently in the past, Benny and Sue talked about, hey, like I'll come visit you in the future. Because Benny doesn't even know we're psyspec. She's like, oh, tell me how the new job is treating you. Like, so we haven't seen her in a while. We haven't told her anything about being a psyspec. Um, and yeah, it seems like, oh, have you missed me? I got a new phone. You won't recognize the number. But yeah, and she's looking for a new job. And yeah, so Benny text message. I'm very interested to see where this goes. And yeah, here again, I haven't heard from Benny in forever. Looks like things are looking up for her. She deserves a nice life. She does. So obviously the whole mood in this end of D0 thing is very like eerie. You know, the dialogue I'm noticing is very like setting you up. It's like even if you don't have the Rinaline thing, it's still eerie how everything's dark and there's no music. I don't even think there's ambience. Maybe a little slight ambience. But Serene, the narration is kind of like, oh, Serene opens her room, comma, and then the next line, and steps inside, dot, dot, dot. And then you go in. She's like, oh, finally I'm home. And then it's like, dot, dot, dot. So there's a lot of like anticipation. It's very eerie, which I really do like. It is eerie. But I wonder if there's more to that. Obviously it's a very cold feeling and it fits the story really well, but maybe something sinister is going on. Like imagine we learn some stuff, right, in the future and we come back here and we realize why the day or the night feels so wrong and eerie because there's all this shit going on with the saboteur. Is the saboteur about to like break into her house this night? Oh, everything that happens with the dream is weird. There's when does Sindine enter us? Like feels like something eerie is happening, and that accident tarot card is ringing in my head of, you know, take risk today, and something from the past is gonna show up and cause trouble. So yeah, very eerie atmosphere. Let's call Yuffie. So yep, Yuffie is now just boarding the auto rail. So she did linger for something, whether it's in the berg or outside of the berg. Yuffie lingered, which is very interesting. What is she doing? What is Yuffie doing in the end of D0 when it's all dark out? And then she doesn't show up the next day, and all D0 she's on her phone calling people. I don't know. I don't know. And apparently, Yuffie's not going to be home for a while, even though auto rail transportation seems to be very fast. I mean, well, in D1, Tsurine has time to like take a nap or whatever on Valley. Um, but besides that, that's interesting. And again, we hear that it's been a long time since Yuffie and Sue has hung out or have hung out. Here's another interesting thing. Yuffie saying, I'd stay up all night if you had tomorrow free. That is almost implying Yuffie knows she's not going to work tomorrow because her day is free, right? It's that, or it's option B, where like even if Yuffie had work, she would sacrifice her sleep schedule for Tsurine time, which is very possible because Yuffie fucking loves Sue. So CW is apparently stuffed when it comes to psyspec work. So a lot of audits, I guess a lot of liabilities, or a lot of people who might become liabilities. And Daughterfly needs patrols. And I believe that's referring to the patrols around the ward to check for scotched people, or the patrols to sell stabilizers. And Yuffie says no more nightmares, which implies that Tsurine has nightmares and tells Yuffie about it. So were her nightmares always so weird and kind of foreboding and foreshadowing? Who knows? But that is very interesting to know that Tsurine has a history of having nightmares. That might be important, especially if these dreams are being manipulated or influenced by some kind of outside force, which to me it really feels like, especially with the whole like don't tell the other retainer, like someone is beaming that information into Tsurine, right? Or Tsurine is remembering shit from the past. Because although you might not be able to remember something because of amnesia, you might find that it only really makes sense when you're dreaming. Is that what that means? Is that what rinaline and all that shit is? Is that when you're in dreams, your subconscious mind kind of connects and you can remember shit of the past? That feels very plausible. Especially with the Codatine dream with the elevator and remembering, girl in the elevator who seems to be her sister and all this stuff. So, for whatever reason, Tsurine's light bulb turns off after being turned on. Why? Why does that happen? Okay, I understand her room's shitty, but her room heals the next day. The light bulb comes back. So, doesn't that mean that her light bulb should be kind of new? It could be old, but like if they heal and shit, like it should be regenerated maybe. I'm not sure, but I think it's odd. There's a lot of electronic shit going on. And I'm not even talking about Yuffie right now. I'm talking about the saboteur who we know, got into Tsurine's room in the past couple days or whatever. Or maybe even tonight. So yeah, why does the light bulb break? That's very odd. So the killipedes have been everywhere lately, which is interesting. Rivian said the killipedes seek out people, and they go through entire wards to go to certain people, I believe. And they don't even belong in CW, so that's interesting. I think they maybe belong in Frigid or Fecundali. I could be wrong, but we'll get there in D1. So yeah, most things they're poisonous too. And if I remember, poisonous is if you eat it, you die, right? I could be wrong. Or venomous. It's one or the other. But to humans, they're totally safe. Yeah, Tsurine freaks out when you suggest to kill it. She can't manage it, and she just tries to pretend it's not there. Which is really sweet of her. She can pick it up all fine and put it outside. But of course, we're going to take this Kilopede, aka Kiki. If you didn't know, if you just press enter, Tsurine will give it a name herself. She'll name it Kiki. But I'm going to give this Kilopede a name that I'm going to figure out right now. You're going to be Languid. Hopefully I spelled that right. Alright, squeakers. In the fucking bathroom. If we wait here for a bit, we can get a call from Jicca instead of the text afterward. Surine's kind of like, oh, what the heck, hello? And it's Jicca. So Jicca's calling us to make sure that we're coming in tomorrow. That's interesting. Why does she need a call? Like, of course we're coming in tomorrow. She always does. This is kind of odd. Obviously, you know, the most obvious answer is that there's something very important going on today with what Jicca tells Tsurine in D1. But, maybe there's an ulterior motive. I don't know what it is, but maybe you do. And yeah, Jicca double downs and says no skimping. Tsurine's never done that, right? So now this is even more suspicious, right? I mean, tomorrow, Yuffie skimps, she doesn't go, and I mean, fucking Manowar skimps every day. So, like, does Jicca have a feeling Tsurine's gonna leave? You know, is she trying to find out if Tsurine has some way to know what's gonna happen? You know, like, it feels like this is very interesting that Jicca's like, hey, no skimping, you know? Or obviously it's just, you know, very casual and mundane, but maybe it's not. And Jicca's heading to a job right now for tonight. I hope her job goes well. Hope she doesn't get injured or fall down, like, over 30 flights of escalator stairs or whatever. Hey, so Jicca does sleep. I mean, that is good to know because it's like, when you go to the balcony and you can talk about, like, oh, did you eat breakfast or whatever? And she's like, I don't eat much. You know, because all she had was a puffado, which, you know, raises some eyebrows with Jicca. So when Serena asks what time to come in the next morning, Jicca does not give us a time. She instead says she'll call us, which, again, is interesting. One, of course, you know, Jicca doesn't know how long she's gonna, you know, what time it's gonna be exactly, but that's very odd that she doesn't have a time for their meeting. And Jicca's like very adamant. Obviously, this might just be some character work here to show Jicca's intensity and you know, build suspension for what's gonna happen. But yeah, Jicca's like, you better, like, you know, max out your phone volume, whatever it takes. I don't know when, but I'm gonna need to call you. But obviously, that doesn't happen in D1. She gets fucking murked. Scotched, this girl. Scotched. And again, Jicca's saying, this is important. Do you understand? I think, okay, so we, like, Jicca tells us stuff, you know, we ask her about the phantom limb and we hear about it, but now Jicca's not telling us, and she's being, this is a little suspicious to me, you know, obviously we get a lot closer in D1 with her, but I feel like maybe she can't say what she wants to say right now, whether someone's listening or someone might be listening through the phone, maybe she's worried about the saboteur, maybe it's something to do with Providence, but Jicca doesn't explain what's going on. She's just saying it's important, it's important, it's important. I can't tell you what time, right? Because if she gave a time, maybe the saboteur would know, or maybe someone would know. And yeah, instead of explaining, she just says words, Tsurine, almost kind of implying that she can't, you know, watch your words. But that's kind of like subtext, if I'm using that word correctly. So yeah, interesting stuff to pick apart here. So we have this like this bath water that's abstract kind of reflection visual. The color of the water is kind of seafoam green, which is an important color. It's not exactly, but it is pale, so maybe it is. That is interesting. Obviously, water is not this color. I mean, it can be, but bath water, I don't think it would be. Maybe Sanatoria is weird, but it's something. Maybe if we learn what the seafoam kind of represents, this would make more sense, and maybe it's applicable here. Maybe it's, you know, right now I can only think of Rinaline. She uses seafoam green a lot. She's also seen in the tub through the mirror, right? And, you know, there's reflections here, and we're in the tub. We're bath time buddies, so maybe there's something going on here. Maybe this is like hinting at Rinaline's presence. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not too confident about that. But it's interesting the color, you know, or it's just pretty because it is a pretty color and it does match Tsurine very well. And you know, we have a nice little introspective dialogue from Tsurine. You know, she loses her cool around liabilities, which implies, I believe we had this earlier. It's been a couple days since I've done all the recording, so I'm a little washed. But yeah, it's been mentioned that Tsurine, you know, has encountered liabilities before or has dealt with them, right? And now she's saying she loses her cool around liabilities. Maybe that's just an assumption, but that's interesting to note. So Serene's like, why did I sign up? To make a difference? Well, you signed up because you were in debt, right? That's why. But maybe she bridged the decision with a little bit of moral stuff, like, you know, okay, I can pay off the debt, but I can also, you know, make a difference and make the world a better place. But she's kind of losing that and feeling like this is a bad decision or a silly job, you know? Yeah, now Yuffie's being dragged into danger. Yeah, poor Tsurine, feeling all stressed. If I can't get over my fears, will I really be able to help her if she needs me? That's interesting. That line feels kind of foreshadowy because in the Berg, it's like, you know, will you help me if the time comes? And it's brought up and we get a choice, including Tsurine saying no, that she's not she's not sure. And now again, we have Tsurine saying she's not sure in like the only introspective moment in the game so far. I wonder if that's foreshadowing. I wonder if this is gonna. I hope. I hope it's not, because that would mean something. You know, Yuffie's going to need help. And if Yuffie needs help, Tsurine, you better fucking get off your ass. Not that you're on your ass, but I might. I don't want to see that happen. Okay. So Tsurine asks, I wonder if I've always been so risk adverse. You know, um, that also, you know, this is the issue where I keep looking at every single line thinking it's foreshadowing, but you know, give or take, if I'm, you know, broken clock is wrong all day except for one time, right? That's what they say. Maybe this is the time. I don't know. Is this evidence to the like evil Tsurine theory or whatever, where like pre-amnesia Tsurine was hyper violent and you know, would kill people, right? We saw in the elevator, she's like, oh, I'll kill them. Don't let them get chill. If they get too close, I'll kill them. And now Serene's bringing up, I wonder if I've always been so, like, cowardly, as she said coward in a couple lines ago. You know, risk adverse, you know, passive. And then she says, and if not, then what happened to me? Yeah, something happened to Tsurine, it seems like, that caused her all this trauma, the amnesia, the phobia, the severe phobia of sharp objects, and pill guns, and apparently liabilities too. So something happened to Tsurine that may have neutered the any amount of like violent capabilities she had. I did load the game, so we can see the text message on the other route if we don't linger in the bathroom. This is Jicca. Pick up your phone when I call you. I rang you twice. I'm headed to a job right now. I need to meet you early tomorrow so I can sleep before the next one. Keep your volume up loud. I'll ring you in the morning to wake you when it's time to head over. If you take your phone off silent, that is. So again, Jicca's not giving us a time. Apparently we didn't hear the phone call. That's interesting. I imagined it was close by, but perhaps we were too introspective. Maybe we put her phone away from the bath. I don't know. But yeah, same story. Was Jicca's plan to like give us, you know, take away our exemption? Because why do we need to meet early? Why is it so important that we meet early? You know, obviously Jicca needs to sleep and stuff, but is that really the whole thing? You know, like maybe Jicca had another plan, but when she went down the stairs, she kind of realized that Sterlie needs more help. I feel like she brings this up. So then she decides to pull the exemption like that day, almost spontaneous. Who knows? Oh my god, I completely forgot. We have over here, my name is Rinaline, and it's written on the inside of, like, it's inside facing text, okay? Now, Rinaline seems to be a reflection, right? Or she's on the wrong side or the right side, whatever. We've seen like her draw stuff in the other dark room on the window. It says like XOXO. That wasn't inverted or anything, or reversed or reflected. I don't fucking know how mirrors work. So that I think implies Rinaline was outside the window when she wrote this. That's if she even like needs to be nearby. Like I think she has fucking powers. She can just do shit. She's a fucking ghost. And yeah, you can't click on it. So yeah, time to go to bed. If I remember. Oh, okay. So I guess we could do it now. We have a lot of stuff in this room that we can kind of see. We have in the top left, we have Lovesick. Looks like some kind of album or game. I would say that's an album. Of course, Tsurine has the word urine over her on her room. I don't know why. This might be a reference to Tsurine having a piss fetish, pre-amnesia. That's what I think, at least. And there's only one way to, solidify that. We're gonna have to ask our romance option. It's for the amnesia. We gotta know our past. All right. We have idiocentric. With the swirls. I remember Amber in the Discord server, the lovely Zupa Dupa, really pointing out this poster and linking it to, things like the spirals I mentioned yesterday or the last video, on Amber, the game character, on her, on her shirt, there's the same spirals. And Epime has those same spirals, and Epime is the idiopath, and this says idiocentric, so that's very interesting. We can see the Trauma Queen again, and there's another poster next to the Trauma Queen that it says, I don't know what that says, maybe someone can zoom in or I'll zoom in, but it looks like the second word is like game. Maybe it's like play game or don't game, or I don't know. We have Crypt X Hunter Online, and it looks like someone in like a dungeon, a witch. That I don't know if dungeons exist, so probably something else. But yeah, that's the game that there was a raid for, and Leida and Tsurine plays the game. There's a poster that I can't really read. There's one that says Midnight Line with a ghost. So unless that's like a squid or some other kind of animal, it looks like a ghost. Midnight Line. We have looks like a little cat or something, and it says V and V. Then we have a girl, and it says magical, maybe magical murder, if I had to guess. Yeah, I think I see murder. And then we have Fever Dreamer. And then we have the Vel, right? That's her name, Vel 44, maybe. I could be wrong. The makeup artist, Vel 99. And then we have another poster called Serial Painkiller. So probably another album or band or something. For whatever reason, we did not get the latest phone call. Huh. So I'm going to watch this on my own. And in post, I'm going to edit. And I'm going to go through all of this. I don't know if it'll take a lot of time or a small amount of time. But there is a lot to digest. So I'll see you in a second. Hello, Squeaksters. Do you like that? Squeaksters? It's kind of like Squeakers and Sisters. I could also say my Squeak Sisters. Hey, Squeak Sisters. Okay, that's, I don't know about that one. We'll go with Squeakers. Okay, Squeakers, we're gonna look at this fucking thing. We're gonna look at this video. Okay, we're gonna look at all the lines of dialogue. I think I'm gonna write them down just for my own needing. Someone probably did this before where they wrote down everything, but I'm gonna read it or write it down anyway. So we've got the video, the bitrate, the quality's gonna be horrible. I apologize. So before this happens, we have Tsurine here. We have a bunch of text from the title. I don't see anything new. We have numbness, static noise, sound body, sound mind. I don't know what the one in the left top left. It says RSE. Is that like worse or something? Or understand? No, there shouldn't be an E there. I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, as Tsurine is falling asleep, there's this kind of glitchy, very breakcore effect creeping in Let me turn it up real quick. I'm barely gonna get any louder. And then we have this sound and the visual of this folly synapse creeping in and connecting to her. Listen to the sound. It almost sounds like ice or crinkling or like bones cracking. That sound never plays in Adna, so that's interesting. And there's another sound that we'll see after the dream and in D1 of this slither sound. That is the Minoria, or at least one of the times it's the Minoria that Sindine has when Tsurine's trying to pull it out and it slithers deeper or whatever. But yeah, they're not using it here. This time it's this weird sound that I've never heard in the game before. And yeah, we've got Folly Red, little like synapses coming in. They make contact with Tsurine. We get this loud explosion sound, which is the same sound, I believe, when you break out of the elevator and you break the nightmare and you shatter the dream. And then Tsurine's heart starts beating faster and faster, or that's what it sounds like. Alrighty, so the visuals. We see a lot of stuff. I see Laska, I see Drippy Drips, I see Sterlie Tower, or not Sterlie Tower, the elevator. Is that the elevator? On the right here, those bars? Yeah, I think that has to be the elevator. We don't really see bars like that anywhere else. So, the dialogue is really what we're here for. So we have the first text is folly, and the quality is so bad. I'm so sorry, but they're all in different fonts, I believe. They're like slightly different. We have the Dob mark font, classic Adna font. You can find all the fonts within the game in the help or about section. But yeah, the folly text is saying bond with her. So there's a ... there. I know it's hard to see, but that makes me feel it as bond with her. So almost like this person, like bonding is this thing that we don't know what it is, but if this is a folly text and we just saw a folly, tendril connect to Tsurine, that is this tendril bonding with Tsurine, right? I mean, that's what it feels like. That's the most obvious answer. So now that tendril, the voice of that tendril or whoever it belongs to, whatever it belongs to, whatever, is saying bond with her. So this is either happening after the bonding, after the connection, or this is showing us what happened right before, which sounds more plausible. Or actually, I think what it is something's happening right now as Tsurine is sleeping with this thing jacked into her head. There's these different voices, and they're all trying to do different things. They're trying to do something to Tsurine, or use Tsurine for some reason. And because of this bond, this connection, Tsurine can hear all this stuff. She can kind of get a glimpse of what's going on, but it's only through dreams. And dreams are very vague and surreal. So we have to kind of cut through and figure out what's actually happening. That's I'm speaking a lot with a matter of fact tone, but this is like all wild speculation. So yeah. And then we have this large pink text, which is the classic, I think it's the terminal font or grotesque terminal, something like that. And I feel like it's always really large and it's always capitals, which makes me think of the start of the game when it says, and life said to her. It's like this big narrator. But even that voice doesn't use all caps. So this might be something, to me, the big, size, maybe that's trying to say it's kind of like life and death. It's kind of a godlike entity or something, or like some kind of role that's more of a narrator, someone kind of omniscient. So yeah, Folly's like, bond with her, what are you talking about, you goober? And Pinky over here is like, yes. No, well, Pinky's like, yes? Like a drawn out, a yes? Like question mark, ... They're unsure of themselves, and then the next line we get is, it changes to the right, it says yes, with, an exclamation mark. So we go from unsure about bonding with her to yes, And then she's the one. Now we have exclamation marks back to back. So the Pinky was a little unsure, but now is emphatically like, yes, Tsurine is the one. We must bond with her for this goal, whatever the goal is. So she's the one. Reach out to her. Which is a very interesting line because I'm only thinking of this because it was talked about in the Discord today as of recording, but the titles that we see in the menu, one of them is reach out your hand, I'll never let go, which is, I believe, what the big pink text at the start of the game can say. Life says to death, or something like that. Life says it, or death says it, whatever. Or God says it. So Tsurine is the one. Reach out to her, which I believe is this kind of like reaching out would confirm the bond. Okay, so they're like, are we gonna bond with her? What are we doing? And they're like, yeah, she's the one. Reach out, bond to her. And then Folly is saying, are we aligned? Right? So I believe they're progressing with this bonding, and Folly over here is trying to be like, okay, well, are we aligned? Now, I don't know if this means with Tsurine or with Pinky. Like, maybe Pink and Folly need to be aligned for the bond to work, for them to be able, for Folly to reach to Tsurine or whatever. Or maybe Folly needs to be aligned with Tsurine, and the Folly can't really tell. They need to ask someone else to clarify. So yeah, are we aligned? Here we go. So are we aligned? And then Pink says we're misaligned. So what's interesting is so the Folly and Pink do have to align, but then Folly says I'll split her skull then, which has to be talking about Tsurine, right? Which is very interesting because Sindine does kind of split her skull a little bit. Not saying that this character is Sindine, but that's just interesting. So are we aligned? We're misaligned. I'll split her skull then. So I don't know why Pinky is saying the word we, unless they're talking as like a team, like, oh, them trying to get into Sue, like, oh, we're misaligned, something's wrong. So the Folly is like, okay, easy solution. Watch this. I'll split her skull open and I can bond right into her fucking head. Because it seems like they're trying to get into her head, right? So you gotta go through the skull to get to the head, obviously. And Pink is like, hell no. No, exclamation mark. And Folly is adamant, unshakable, one might say, and says, I will, period. And then Pinky says, I can't. So we're hearing a lot of like we, I interchangeably. So it's almost like there's two people sharing a body or the motor skills or a brain, or there's two consciousness stuffed into one thing. So the Folly wants to split her skull and break it open, while Pinky doesn't. Pinky says, I can't, I won't. And then all of a sudden, the blue text, which is the same font and, normal capitalization as the game text, right? And then we have the heart. It's hard to see, but there's a heart on the right side of the text, which is in Adna. When you're done with a dialogue line, it'll give you that heart to tell you that you can click. So this is clearly, to me, this feels like it's trying to this is more like a person. Because all of a sudden, there's these people fighting. They're trying to break into Sue. One's trying not. They're fighting amongst themselves, if they're even ourselves, or unless they're one body, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Bluey comes in and is like, who the hell are you? And I know Blue is I think the normal text for everyone. But this really makes me think of when you leave the elevator at the start of the game, you get the blue text talking about, oh, you're just a fucking cog, you're no friend of mine, or whatever. But yeah, there's no evidence to that. So this could be anyone. This could be Tsurine, and that probably is the most plausible because it seems like they're trying to invade into Tsurine. So this person's like, who the hell are you? And now we have this text, which we've never seen this kind of font, or we've seen this font. It's the same terminal font, the classic one that the game uses, but it's like outlined and very scratchy. We have the tendrils in the background, of course. I haven't been talking about the visuals too much, but because I'm not really sure what to make of them. It seems to be like a collage of her memories, of the day, the dream with the elevator, and then you see Laska, you see all this other crap. So yeah, the dialogue with the heart is Tsurine, because this person says Tsurine, and then Folly says, I'm so sorry, but, so they are, empathizing, allegedly, and they do care, and Pinky says no. So it seems like Folly is going through with the plan of splitting the skull open. And Pinky says, I won't do that to her. So again, Pink and Folly seem to be like in the same body. So Pink, and yeah, it almost seems like, yeah, maybe one is more physical while the other is more mental, because Pinky keeps saying, I won't do it, I can't do that to her, like she's gonna do it. And now, this person who identified Tsurine, right, which to me feels like GITE, Girl in the Elevator, because of that theory that I can't get in my head, that someone mentioned, I think it was Sid or everyone involved, but that the girl in the elevator kind of merged with Providence. And this and they're kind of like a guardian angel. She's a guardian angel. She's like a protector, and she's trying to find Tsurine. She's fucking with Providence. That's why Providence is sick, because there's someone else in the system, right? So now this person who knows Tsurine, they know who Tsurine is. So that limits a lot of characters, or anyone from the past. But yeah, stop it, please. This person does not want Tsurine to get her skull split open. And then Folly says it's ugly, but I have to do it for everyone. Which, one could be like, oh yeah, everyone goes under this process. But two, it sounds more like Tsurine having her skull split open is going to benefit all of society. Whatever their goal is bonding, is when they're like, oh, Tsurina's the one. Is she some kind of chosen one, right? Like, she's going to be able to do something that's going to help everyone if this happens, or is it way more evil and malicious than that? Is the everyone not literal? Maybe this character is the mom. Maybe they're talking about the family or all of Tsurine's friends. I have to do it for everyone. I'm not really sure. And they identify that it's ugly, which again is kind of like a little show of empathy. Like, oh yeah, it's not, it's ugly, but I have to do it because it's the right thing to do, or something, or it's for the long run. And now Pinky is saying, what am I doing? So Pinky somehow is like, her will or her actions or something are being controlled or swayed by the Folly. So yeah, it feels like, warring thoughts in the head, and then the body is like doing things. The body's leaning more towards the Folly. And the Pink does not want to hurt Sue, but Folly is dead set on it. So what am I doing? And now Folly says what we are meant to do, which completely to me solidifies that the Folly and Pink are within the same entity, make of that what you will. So apparently Folly and Pink are made to do this, are meant to do this, not made, sorry. This is their destiny, this is their goal, this is something, I don't know, they're meant to do this. And now, of course, this blue text feels more like a human, like some character that really cares about Tsurine. That's why I keep thinking it's the sister. But they're just like here on the sideline. Now, why are they here? Tsurine makes sense. She's the victim. Folly and Red are interfacing with Tsurine. I'm thinking of sensoriums, by the way, like the Dr. Keaty, USB, where there is a sensorium somewhere. We don't know where it is. So I feel like Tsurine's sensorium is being contact or like touched, like connected, right? That like those wires or those tendrils that hit her head kind of like connected with her, and now her consciousness, the pink consciousness and the folly consciousness are all together, right? Obviously we know the folly text probably belongs to the folly tendril, right? For some reason the pink is there too. I don't know what that means, but they seem to be a duo. Maybe at some point the pink joined with the folly. But this blue person right here, this outline, right? We'll call her outline. This one just feels so like you don't belong here. You're civilian, you're pedestrian. There's this crazy shit going on, and you just want to save the person you care about, which is Tsurine. So, but who is that, and why are they here? They, did they hitch a ride off the folly, or are they in Tsurine already, or were they put into Tsurine with the codatine? I'm not sure. And like, why is the codatine folly? Because why would they need the tendril if they like already hijacked into Tsurine? It's very confusing. So we have outline. Sorry if you hear me biting my nails. Oh my god. We have the outline and pink both not wanting to do what Folly's doing. The blue one is outline is very distraught about this. Folly is kind of, understands the gravity and that it's bad, but it's like, I have to. I can't do it. So the Folly folds, can't do it, can't hurt Tsurine, can't finish the job or whatever. Pinky says yes, yes. Pinky's glad. Outline is either stressed or happy, and it's like, oh, Tsurine, like maybe trying to save her and pull her away. But now Outline is saying, I can't tell you how happy I am right now. So Outline is happy that I guess Sue is surviving out of this, but this feels a little demented, right? It feels a little, I want to say the word delusional, delirious maybe, because the song the melody that just started as this line comes up is the Delusion Delirium melody, I think, and if I get that wrong, that is embarrassing. I'm very tired. That's my excuse. But yeah, I can't tell you how happy I am right now. So yeah, let's see where this goes. And now Folly's finishing the sentence. So now it seems like Outline is somehow connected with the Folly now. So I wonder if this was always the case, or maybe right now, whatever event just occurred, Folly pulling away, kind of merged them all, I don't really know. But now Folly is saying, I'm so happy I could puke. So now we have all three of them finishing each other's sentences. They have all merged. And of course, the puke is reminiscent of the intro, the weird vomit flower. And Folly is saying she's almost a perfect match. This will be easier than the other times. So this sounds like they did this to other people. Not just, I don't think this is like they did it to Tsurine multiple times, because they're saying she's almost a perfect match. Which is like they just discover that. That's why they're like, oh, she's the one. Now, does this mean there's fucking clone Tsurine theory? Like, maybe this Tsurine is the one Tsurine, I guess pun intended, that is a perfect match. That is bond-worthy. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find other characters, or there are characters already in the story that have been affected by this, right? Manowar is a character that seems to have multiple personalities, or not like personalities, but a consciousness inside of her. And she also has schizotism. So that is maybe she was one of these victims. Now, Outline is calling out for Tsurine. Let's find out if this is happy or sad. Probably sounds a little bit more like happy demented. Not like demented. I don't know why I keep saying demented, but like, distorted, perverted. You know, it's happy and jolly. She's like, oh, tsurine, but it's more like you shouldn't be so happy right now because now they're saying this is a problem. Like they're too happy, so happy they could puke. They're like almost getting a high from this. And now, so whatever they're so like, you know, this like, oh, this glorious power, whatever they're figuring out, or I don't know what's going on. Folly's saying this is a problem. I can't protect her. So whatever is making them so happy, which I at first thought was Tsurine living through this, like her skull not being broken. I'm getting a little lost here, but we'll keep going. I can't protect her. And then they say, tell not the other retainer. So this feels like, you know, one, it's just someone saying, hey, don't tell Jicca, okay? But it's almost, any way you read it, the fact that it says other implies that they, or someone they know, is the real retainer. It feels like Pink is like a retainer. I shouldn't say real retainer. So who the hell is Pink? Unless Pink could also be Providence and knows of all the, or two of the, like, I don't know how many retainers are. But if there's more than one, then there could be a billion. But yeah. And yeah, here's more of that like distortion, like perversion, like the outline character is like going all over the place. They're saying, oh, I love you. You know, they went from sad, distraught, super worried for Tsurine to so happy I could puke to, you know, I love you. Which implies a very closeness, which, you know, again, makes me think of sister. Folly says, you already know what to do. And I feel like this is all to Tsurine. You know, tell not the other retainer. Or actually, is it to Tsurine? Maybe it's to amongst each other. Like, they know the other retainer, saying, you know, oh, this is bad. Like, this is dangerous. And then they're like, oh, I can't protect her. And they're like, oh, you know, don't worry about protecting. Just don't tell the other retainer. You know, while the other one's like, oh, I love you, Sue. Like, they're all different facets of the same body or whatever. And now they're taught, like, Red and Pink are talking, Folly and Pink. You already know what to do. They're kind of saying, like, oh, you know, we know what needs to happen next. And then Pink is saying, I'm sorry I lost my way. And suddenly they're not speaking in all caps, which is very interesting. Maybe everything before this was out of character for them. Like, the fact that they were so resilient to hurting Sue. Or the fact that they outbursted saying, yes, yes, you know? But apparently they lost their way. Now we have this very... I need to get a good frame of this. I'm sorry I lost my way, and then outline finishes it, but how can I find it if I'm unable to tell under from over? And the under is a bit green, maybe a seafoam green. And that is really interesting, because under, you know, makes us think of the under key, which obviously has importance for whatever reason. But over hasn't really been made important until now. Now it's important because if there's under and there's the under key, and that's important, and now we see over, which is kind of like showcased here, there must be an over key, right? Or some kind of flip side or some kind of other side to the under, whatever that is. And that's, yeah. So yeah, how can I can't, like, I lost my way, but how can I find my way, my morals, my goals, my, you know, my morals or whatever, my way, if I can't tell under from over? So it's basically, what you would imagine is them saying, if I can't tell right from wrong, right? Which they do say, like, right now, yeah, if I can't tell right from wrong. But, like, starting with under and over, and also bringing up under and over, and right and wrong is seafoam, which makes more sense because we know the wrong side and stuff with the rinaline is seafoam, or like it's used with seafoam text and shit. So yeah, we kind of have like all four directions. We have, well, I say all four, but wrong isn't a direction unless we take it as the opposite of right. So we have under, over, right, and wrong. Now right and wrong that's morals, right? You have like your good and bad, right and wrong, but it's a little more nuanced, right? It's what you think is right and wrong. But under and over, like what could that mean symbolically? I have no fucking idea. But yeah, they're saying that they can't find their way again. They're lost. They're feeling lost because for some reason they cannot differentiate between right and wrong and under and over. Interesting. For some reason, their perception is fucked up, their mind is fucked up, their personality, I don't know. They just can't tell the difference. And now Pink is saying, but you always knew, didn't you? That's why you came. I don't know who they're talking to just yet, but they're finishing each other's sentences, of course. And that's why you will come again. You will come again. And Folly isn't present there for that little area, but I'm sure that's fine. I think that is directly speaking to Tsurine, maybe. But Tsurine didn't come anywhere, you know? She did, maybe her bedroom? You know, haha, come. But like, you know what I mean? Like, what would that be referring to? Maybe that's referring to the other part of themselves? I'm not really sure. And I don't think I'll ever be sure of any of what this all means until maybe disc 1 million. But yeah, that is the ending dream, and there's that sound. So we wake up and we hear that slithering sound, which we will hear again within D1. Specifically with the Menorrhea flower that Sindine kind of plants in us. So that right here, as soon as we wake up, we feel that like slither, okay? That might be a connection, something to keep in mind. Either a connection to the dream we just had or a result of the dream we just had, right? Maybe, you know, I'm, you know, I don't know whatever just big editing thing I just said is, whatever. But maybe Sindine's gift putting it in us happened right there, and it caused that kind of weird dream during the process. And Tsurine's head is she's like, oh, my head. And to wrap up Disc 0, we're going to look at all the D0 characters. We're just going to talk about them for fun, analysis, speculation, and stuff like that, and then that will be the end of Disc 0. First up, we have Elena. Elena, to me, feels like a really good portrayal of like a sanatorium. She's all nursed up, all hospital. She's got the stickers, she's got the high saturation, the, you know, odd color of, you know, not primary blue, like a cyan teal, and the magenta, it's perfect. We've got the bow in the hair with the side ponytail, very similar to Tsurine. Her hair is actually the most similar to Tsurine out of any other character so far. And yeah, she's got the little nurse's hat, and she's got her eyes, which are arbors, I believe, which are little computers that can scan people from a distance, good in emergencies. We also learned about Elena, you know, is very gently friends with Piamat, and, takes care of scavengers who report with oddities, and she's a really good surgeon, but she's not, you know, pretty with her job, but like the work she does isn't pretty, but it's good work. And yeah, she's got a stethoscope, she's got a little badge or something, a little card over here that we can't identify. She's got bandages, whether that she has an injury or something kind of condition. She also has an apron, probably gets covered in blood during surgeries. And yeah, that is Elena. She's our tutorial girl. She is a total waifu, lovely girl, and you can annoy the fuck out of her too, which I adore. So we have, going from the norm to the odd, we have Amber here with her very orange color, which, well, maybe the color's amber. I don't think any other character really has this shade currently. It's a very rare color in Adna. And we have there's very striking things about her beside the color. Her eyes, they always remain shut until she opens them at a certain point. I believe when she brings up that Tsurine has something handled to pick up somebody or whatever. Yeah, and her eyes move. They're animated. Same with this, the outline of her bust. And yeah, it's a rainbow, a little like a warmer toned yellowy orangey rainbow that's static and it moves. Is that her shape? Is that some kind of just prosthetic? Is that serene schizotism? I have no idea. Is it some kind of elucidation? Is she a fucking liability? I wouldn't be surprised. She has these crazy salts, these feathers that merge right into her hair that Tsurine brings up. So this is our example of not designer salts, salts that are very messy and very, probably brought on from trauma and just kept there. They probably cause some kind of issue for her, like anemia, anemia, blood loss, shit like that. She's got a little copper. Well, obviously copper would be like patina, or maybe this is carrot or something. She's got a little metal thing here. She's got the spades, the upward spades. I still don't remember what they mean, but we will find out in D1. She's got a bunch of keys on her. This key in particular, with it being so normal, makes me think of the USB about plain keys. That looks like a plain key. Are they important like the under key is? I'd have to say probably, right? If you're having something so important, like the under key has been put into the center of the story as this is important, then when I see the word key, us as the audience were prompted to say that's important. So I think these keys might be some kind of important thing. Maybe one of them's the over key, the right key, the wrong key, I don't know. They're probably not as important as the under key, but like, of that vein. Special keys. We also have the crown here. I don't think this is an Armel crown, but it's very interesting that the crown exists. Because why does she put that there? Like, what does that do? What does that mean? And why do crowns even exist? I don't know. I think I talked about it last time we met Amber. But it's very interesting and it's very deliberate. And of course, you didn't know, Amber's feet are free to look at right here. She's got no socks. And I think her fucking sandals are super cool looking, and I love the bandages. Her whole outfit is great. You can't even see her arms. She might not even have arms. But somehow she opens the door and puts stuff on it. So she probably has arms, or she has weird powers. Maybe she has wings. We've got lovely Boldera. Lovely girl. Full of drama. Full of alcohol. Stole fucking Junie or whatever. Yeah, I hope that in the next disc 1, I hope we get to have our date or our call with Boldera. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, Boldera's another very good, like sanatorian, like a look into the daily sanatorian. She's got the nurse getup, got this really nice color. That's, we see a lot of reds and pinks, but this one we don't see too much. And I mean, it's Boldera. She's lovely. She's got some circle pupils, small circle pupils, which is very interesting and cool. Of course, we have Epime, one of the shorter characters, but she is very cool looking. I mean, look at this purple indigo kind of mixed color. She's got these swirls here that seem to be related to idiopathy and maybe the primus. She's got candle wax all over her. She's got ribbons in her hair. She's got these purple eyeballs for whatever reason. She's got a candle. And she's got a little skull pattern here. I don't, like, the skull and the eyeballs feel like, we haven't really seen that in any kind of elsewhere in imagery. So that's interesting. And we have this kind of weird bamboo shoot. I think this is maybe one of my favorite saltations in the game, if it is a saltation. I think it looks sick. I love how inorganic it is. And yeah, I guess she can't see out of that eye. And it's very cool that you can see her body dent and morph from it. And yeah, Epime never opens her eyes, but she can read stuff somehow. Holy shit, Piamat. I want to know what, I need answers from this. I think Piamat is like the poster girl of Adna. I think she's the most iconic character. Let me know if you agree. But I remember talking to Liza about this. Like Piamat, like everyone loves Piamat. Everyone gets so attached to her, even before D1. Like her design, her attitude, and everything about her is just perfect. And she's lovely. I love Piamat. Piamat's wife, and like, yeah, I feel like give it a couple of years, I think Piamat's going to be like the most popular character in Adna. Like I feel like Piamat's one of those characters that kind of like people find out about Adna because they see Piamat. Like, oh, I keep seeing that girl. She's from that like hospital game, and then they play Adna. Um, obviously Tsurine's super iconic, but for not main character, I think Piamat's the most iconic. But looking at her design, she's amazing. She's got the cyan and the baby pink and the baby blue. Beautiful, very Adna. She's got bunny ears. That's very interesting. Why does she have bunny ears? I'm not really sure. I can only really come up with innocence. She's very like plushy. She's very comfy and soft. She worked with kids. She has all these like cutesy, like she takes photos with you. She has photos on her wall. It seems like maybe it has to do something with that. Maybe some kind of childhood trauma relating to all this comfy stuff gave her the bunny ears. She saw herself as docile or something. I'm not really sure what the bunny ears could mean. But she's got little pills in her hair. Super cute. The hand eyes, don't correlate with the bunny ears, to my knowledge. But so far we have seen some discussion about her eyes within the game. It's brought up by Tsurine that her eyes are hands, and they're like reaching out for her. And to me, it just feels like a hug. Like I feel like Piamat would give a really good hug. Like I feel like you know what I mean by that, right? Like Piamat seems like she has a lot of care to give. The girl like saved our lives, cooked us dinner, stapled us, straddled us, almost kissed us, all for free. Like I say all for free, but what I mean is like out of love. It seems, obviously I'm a Piamat truther. I'm a Piasu truther, I should say. Or sorry, their ship name's actually a P-urine. But yeah, maybe love is a strong delusional word of me to use, but it seems like she's got a lot of care and comfort to give. Like we hear her talk about obsession and how she gets like with pharmacy and she can't enjoy herself. Her brain's always running really hard, and basically she puts in maximum effort into everything, including caring for this basically stranger, Tsurine. So yeah, she's a very handsy girl. She's hands-on. She does a lot of shit. She's got a butterfly needle here, if you didn't know. I don't really know what they're used for. Maybe for collecting blood and shit. And a little syringe. We've got I Heart You. That's sweet. Piamat Pharmaceuticals. That's her. And cute little shoes. Thank you, Piamat. Next up is Rhonda. Lovely Rhonda. The #1 slang user in D0. Back to back, pulling out some amazing lines. Her hair looks wonderful. Bunch of different colors. She's got some kind of fox or cat ears going on. I guess I'll go with cat. And she's got these cat-like eyes too. There's another connection. Like we have like the Yuffie and the Rhonda where they have like the animal ear and the animal eye, but then we have someone like Piamat who doesn't have bunny eyes or bunnies as eyes, That's really interesting. Yeah, Rhonda is lovely. I like how it's kind of brought up on the side that Leida, Rhonda, and Tsurine are all friends. I think that's really sweet. I like that we can talk to her about relationship advice. That was really sweet. And yeah, she gives us a discount. Rhonda's awesome. Everyone loves Rhonda. Would be an amazing friend to bring over. Would probably reek of perfume and blood. She kind of works with that stuff, but... And I like that she has a she drinks too. That was brought up in a line. Also, 6 shoes. Alright, I mentioned the most iconic character in Adna being Piamat. I think Tsurine's also the most iconic character in Adna. Don't make me explain. They both exceed the human limit of 10. They're 20s in iconicism. That's not a word, but I just made it a word. Tsurine's fucking awesome. Green and purple, my 2 favorite colors. Absolutely beautiful. She's got like borderline seafoam eyes. If we, take a look at her in game and maybe we can figure it out. But it's definitely not green. It's more teal than green. And she's got the sterlie stripes right there. And pretty sure the sterlie stripes are green. Or they are seafoam, So it feels like it's supposed to be seafoam. Why does she have a seafoam squid, too? That was put there. Was that in her old photo? So she wore it? Did she put it on after the fact? I want to know what the seafoam represents. Right now, all we can go off of is rinaline. And rinaline makes no sense. Unless you're dreaming, of course. Tsurine's got these awesome little piercings, this amazing bow. She's got little hair loops. The best hair of any anime girl I've ever seen in my life. She's got the little dog choker where you can click her on a leash. Sorry, I can't say clicker to the Adna fan base. We're all gonna go crazy barking. You can click on a leash to her, pull her around, tug her around, make her eat off the floor, make her bark. It'll be super cute. I hope we get to see Tsurine with dog ears. That would be super cute. Like nice little squishies up here. But yeah, I love Tsurine. I got my Tsurine body pillow today. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited to fall asleep and hug Sue. And when DE2 comes out, I'm gonna be hugging the hell out of Sue. And yeah, I love the little corset here. Wonderful. Tsurine is just amazing. I fucking love her. And speaking of girls to love, it's Yuffie. Everyone fucking loves Yuffie. Who doesn't? She's got this tan going on, which, we have the bra strap tan line. I imagine there's tanning booths, right? They're kind of medical. Or maybe they have something even more advanced than that. Some kind of spray tan. She's very Gyaru, right? She's got the leopard, she's got the tan that's sprayed on. She got a sticker on her face, which is kind of pulling from that Elena thing. The fishnets, and then she's got someone's, probably Rivian's, Crisis Nurse jacket. The Crisis Nurse color is very interesting, of course. This almost folly, I don't know what to call it. But yeah, she's got pink eyes, unique choice, dog teeth looking fangs. She's got glasses, she's got the big dog ears, big hair. I imagine she took off the bun ponytail here, it would fucking go out. She has a little chicken here. Interesting. I want to know what that means. And leg warmers. Very classy. Love the leg warmers. What do I say about Yuffie that hasn't already been said and that you're not already thinking right now? She's lovely. She's such a good warm welcome to the game. She's amazing. She's iconic. I think she might be the character with the most people in the Discord that are like, oh, I want to be on Team Yuffie, which makes total sense. She is amazing. I love her. I love the subtle parts about her too. Obviously, been kind of a meme, and I say that like no one's saying it, but to me it's been a meme how I keep being really sus to Yuffie. I don't think she's evil or anything. I fucking love her. I've been liking her more and more these past months. Big fan of Yuffie. She's awesome. And of course, and now we have Valley. Lovely Valley with some nice ass green hair and a beautiful red ribbon. She's got these yellow eyes that probably taste like honey. She's got these strange pupils. And she's rocking the classic psyspec fit. Valley feels so Tsurine coded to me. They seem so similar, which I like a lot. And I'm excited to see more of that in D2. From the trailer and what's been teased at. She's got a little badge over here. We do know her number's 117. Fucking Halo reference. She's got these really nice stockings. I always get them confused. Really nice shoes. I love the brown. And yeah, she's got the psyspec fit. Love Valley. Love her character. Love the whole talk with the House of Cards. And her with Kimmy and Jay. Or I guess Kimmy's not there, but she talks about Kimmy. being obsessed with Tsurine and stuff. So yeah, and that is disc 0. There's some other notable characters. Of course, Dr. Keaty, best character ever. If you haven't read USB 5, you need to read it now. Fucking lovely. Rinaline, also best character. Absolutely adore her. She's my bathtub buddy forever. And yeah, that is this part of the video over. Did you think I forgot? We gotta get the Leida call. For some reason I didn't get it. I guess I didn't do the Leida call in the video. I went through it again. I feel like, you know, there is stuff to say about the original, or the first time you call Leida in D0, but I think it's pretty, you know, I'll go over real quick. Leida does say the word dude, which is obviously raises a lot of eyebrows from a lot of people. It is interesting. I am curious why Tsurine doesn't like the word, and 2, what the word means, you know, like a definition of the word in adna. To me, I would just assume it's maybe like a just masculine girl, but obviously masculinity doesn't exist, but you know what I mean. Leida has to deal with treatments and stuff. There's other people in her room, probably the people who have to come do treatments. And she's also running a V&V sesh, which is on the wall right there. Probably, you know, it's the adna version of D&D, or tabletop, you know? Which is cool. But then Leida calls us. So this was after her day. She had to go do treatments and shit. And yeah. So she's stuttering. She seems to not be doing too hot. Green's all cute and proud. Yeah, what's up, girl? Leida's like, are you in bed yet? Which is such a weird line of dialogue. How do you know? I mean, obviously it's late. Obviously we're going to bed, but like, that's just a weird way to put it, Leida. You're already on the chopping block for scrutiny because you're wearing a blindfold, okay? We all know blindfold characters are sus. Tsurine's like, yeah, I just hopped in. Like, yeah, did you know? Did you know you were, like, sussy? Sussy Leida. What's up? Leida's like, yeah, never mind, bye. I don't wanna bother you. So Leida knows about the important meeting tomorrow. This is because we told her, of course. So Leida seems to have a problem with sleeping. She's saying she can't sleep again. And Tsurine's asking if something's freaking her out. And Leida's seeing a shadow by her door. I mean, hopefully it's not Rinaline. We just saw Rinaline over at our house, so you should be safe, Leida. Seriously. So it seems like Leida has issues with hallucinations, or she's actually being haunted by a shadow creature. Who knows? So Tsurine, we're kind of getting the inverse of with Yuffie and Tsurine, where Yuffie's done this before. Tsurine sounds like she's done this before. She's here to help Leida. Leida pauses for a second and kind of realizes, almost like she had her walls down and now she's putting them back up. She's like, oh shit, sorry, I shouldn't do, like, I'm such a coward. Like, she's about to, like, pull away and run. But, you know, Tsurine pulls her back in, like, hey, don't go, it's fine, you know, you're not pathetic for being scared, it's normal. Also, super cute that Leida has a onesie. So we have fetnazone at night. So I can sleep through the pain between morning and nightly blood drains. So in the morning and at night, Leida has to get her blood drained, and it's painful. So painful that she would rather sleep through it. So I imagine it's almost like anesthesia. Because, like, so I can sleep, or the pain lingers. It's probably lingering pain, that's what it is. Yeah, here we go. They don't do the blood drains during sleep. Not tonight. Interesting that there's kind of rules and stuff that, or like there's like, oh, we can't do it tonight or something. Yeah, there's low staff. So this is at Malice Answers Institute. There's staff there. We've read the USBs about that. And we know Leida and Tsurine used to hang out and pull all-nighters when Tsurine was studying. And it was because of this issue. In my opinion, I think Leida has a massive crush on Sue. But I mean, like, when you flirt with Leida in D1, she almost feels like she's never even, like, heard of, like, not hasn't heard of romance, but it, like, never occurred to her. She's, like, a total noob at it. Pun intended. But I think, like, she doesn't realize it, but I think Leida is crushing on Sue here. She just wants to hear her voice. Obviously, she wants comfort and stuff, and really cares about Sue and stuff, but I mean, come on. Yeah, she's talking about getting lonely at night. Yeah, Malice Answers Institute being called a facility. It's giving very industrial vibes. So Leida's talking about feeling really lonely and isolated with her issues. You know, everyone goes to sleep and she's still here, and it's like they left her behind. But hearing Tsurine's voice, Leida's like, "But I'm not alone. You stayed behind with me," um, which is really sweet. And whenever, like, I don't know why my brain does this whenever we get to lines like this. I think I did it with Yuffie, and I'll probably do it with piamat, but it makes me think that this is like the first step of like a kind of theme we're gonna see where maybe Leida has this kind of loneliness or isolation issue. Obviously, like, it seems like, she can't go outside, so, or she can't leave her home, or her bed actually is the wording, I think. So yeah, being left behind and feeling alone and isolated. So maybe that would be, or that will be a focus of their relationship. I'm not sure, but it's a nice character moment. And Tsurine mentions that, you know, despite them being close friends, that they've never, like, Tsurine's never heard her be this earnest before. Like, down, or not down to earth, but like, you know, vulnerable. Which is very sweet in this moment. Interesting that she says, "Didn't mean to get weird on you again." So maybe this has happened, or maybe earlier, or within this call, like, "Didn't mean to get weird on you again." That's interesting, that again. And Tsurine's like, "Oh, well, what's with the change?" Leida's just like, "Oh, nothing. Something's coming." Oh, like, okay. And it's got me thinking hard about us. So something is coming, which is making Leida think about Leida and Tsurine. Probably worried, right? Something that's allowing Leida to be more vulnerable. And here Leida almost says, "Love you," but then feels a little awkward about it because she doesn't want it to feel romantic. She's really bad with this soppy stuff, but at the same time, it's like, it turns back and it's doubly effective. This is why everyone loves Leida. It's the Leida effect. You know, everyone's got their favorite girl, and then they get to this call, and it's like, oh, well, Leida's my favorite. Friend dreams. Yeah, Leida's very particular about establishing that. I have a feeling she doesn't want to overstep boundaries. She's really worried about that or something. Or this is just her awkwardness, which is really cute. Small little detail, but she says, like, "Dude," and then she's like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't say that." And she's like, "I mean," and the camera shakes and there's like a ruffling sound, like in her bed, like she kind of like jolted and spasmed. She's like, "Oh fuck, I didn't mean to say that." Like, she's like, girl's going through it. She is having a hard time getting this out. And Serena's just like, "Good night, Leida." Serena says, "Call if you really need me, I'll leave my ringer on." Leida says, ... Yeah. That's an interesting, it's almost like to me that feels like she wants to, but knows she can't or shouldn't or won't. And then another ... Is this about the phone specifically? Does she know what's going to happen to Tsurine? And then, okay, so double ... and then she says, "Rina, yeah? You're all that keeps me going." I think what's going on is Leida wants more, but she doesn't want to mess with the meeting. She doesn't want to mess with, like, Tsurine sleep shit. Would really love to call Tsurine and do all this, but she knows she can't, so she's going to suffer. And thinking about that, she pauses and then says, "You're all that keeps me going." And then she hangs up to not waste any more time, I think. So I think she was going through it a lot more than we saw, or what she tells us. Collection 1, Disc 1, The Short Way Down. And I will see you all next time, next season, unofficial season, of Talking Ad Nauseam, which will be episode 10, by the way, where we will start and dive and sink into Ad Nauseam Disc 1, The Short Way Down. I am so excited, and you better be too. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time, and of course, stay delusional.